Good morning. It's nice to see so many folks today. I'm Tara Barney. I head up the Southwest Indiana Chamber of Commerce for a few more weeks. I'm talking to some folks that I know and many folks that I do not. So I'll take just a second on what brings us all together today. The Chamber of Commerce and the Economic Development Growth Coalition work closely to make sure that we are advancing the interests and the prosperity of the Evansville region. And our region is highly invested in making sure that the plastics economy and all those elements of it continue to have access to best practices and can thrive and grow, because there's so many changes coming in that industry that we do all we can to keep our employers in this space, large and small, supporting each other. And SABIC has been gracious in offering to share some best practices and some work that they are doing in collaboration with Operation Clean Sweep with us this morning. I'm going to just default and tell you one of the reasons we kept you in the waiting room for 3 minutes is we're dealing with a global company, and we've got a couple little things that are coming together at the last minute. But I have with us this morning David Sandridge, who is the guru of Operation Clean Sweep, and he is going to share that program with us today and offer some comments on how it can fit with the work we do here in general. So I will hold other comments on the balance of our morning for later on. And thank you all for being with us. And should you have questions or comments, I am guessing by now most everyone is a Zoom expert. But if you're not, at the bottom of the page, there's a bubble that says chat. And we will keep that open and keep a good eye there for questions or comments or anything you want to share with others on the call. So please feel free to use that. And with no further ado, I'm going to welcome David to the conversation. Thank you for being with us, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, just fine.
Okay, great. So just a quick bit of context. So I first about myself, I'm been in the chemical industry over 25 years experience. Started out and worked many of those years in the industry with Eastman Chemical Company, which is in Northeast Tennessee, headquartered there. I also worked for the American Chemistry Council for a period of time, where I worked with the Responsible Care program. And Responsible Care is really an environmental health, safety, and security performance improvement program that the industry has adopted. So that's what Responsible Care is. I now have do my own consulting, and one of the clients that I have had a good relationship and done some work with OCS, Operation Clean Sweep. Operation Clean Sweep, of which a SABIC is a member, and there's the connection there. But it's really a program around proper handling of plastics to, frankly, work towards zero loss of plastics to the environment. So what I'd like to do is just talk a few minutes about OCS, as we call it. Can anybody see the slide?
The slides are up.
Okay, great. So there's a.
And we'll advance them as you ask us to.
Okay, great. So go ahead. This is just a program overview of Operation Clean Sweep. Okay, so if we'll advance one, the goal of Operation Clean Sweep is zero plastic pellet, flake, and powder loss to the environment. It really began its focus as part of efforts by the industry to get ahead of the issue of marine pollution of plastics, which we all seen the various information about that. And so this is the plastic industry's goal to work towards that goal of zero loss. So how do we do that? Well, why do you participate? Let's talk about that first. Well, first of all, it's a waste. A lost plastic is unsold plastic, so it's more efficient to not lose it. It's safer. And, you know, pellets and powders are slick, and it's safer. It prevents slips, trips, and falls, which is the #1 cause of industrial accidents. It's the law, and in some locations, violations of stormwater regulations can result in penalties. And really, most importantly, it's good for the environment. The spills can end up in waterways, the ocean. Now, there's the plastics pollution issue is complex, and it features discarded containers, for lack of a better word, what I'll call littering, all the way back up the stream to the production of the original resin. Our OCS effort is really back up at the beginning of the process. We focus on resin producers, transporters, and those initial converters. So that's kind of the scope of that. It's one aspect of the problem, not the complete solution. But so if we move on to the next slide, OCS, what are some definitional components of it? It's an international program, yes, international, designed to prevent resin pellet, flake, and powder loss to the environment. It has an aspirational goal of 0 losses of pellet, flake, and powder. The focus of it is on resin manufacture, transportation, and conversion into plastic products. Each segment of the industry has a role to play. So, you know, SABIC fits into this as a resin producer, but other companies are transportation companies, trucking companies, railroads, terminals, distributors, and then plastics processors. And I said it's good for the environment and good for business. There are a couple hundred members of OCS, and in terms of companies, and if we look at the next slide, you can see that OCS, Operation Clean Sweep, has been licensed in other countries. So you can see we have a specific program in North America, and then we have licensed that in other locations that are denoted by green. So a lot of activity on this in Europe with an organization called Plastics Europe. And so it is a global initiative. The sponsors of OCS are, quote, the owners of OCS in the United States are the Plastics Industry Association and the American Chemistry Council. So they are jointly overseeing that program. So the general requirements for OCS is that your top management signs a pledge, and then you do a self-assessment where you look at your company, what gaps they may have, and there's a structured template with some technology behind it in this needs review, let's call it. We then, or you then make necessary upgrades in your facilities and equipment as appropriate, raise employee awareness, training, accountability, and then follow up for continual improvement and enforce procedures. So it's really, I think, kind of fundamentals, operational discipline, and looking at ways to really adopt a mindset for OCS of 0 loss. If we go to the next slide, it also then talks about a second level of the program, which is called OCS Blue. So if you look at this slide, it's got a little different title at the right below the program requirements. So OCS Blue is an advanced version of OCS. It is really kind of helps a company demonstrate its leadership in this area. And we have about 30 members of OCS Blue. And to enter OCS Blue, you apply for it, and then you institute the program at all of your US and Canadian plastic handling locations. You participate in information sharing of best practices and other OCS Blue commitments. We want you to educate and work with your supply chain partners, promoting OCS and promoting their participation in it. And you submit the data on unrecovered spills on an annual basis. And that's mandatory to be in OCS Blues. You must do these things and you must submit data. And the purpose of the data is to begin the process of understanding and getting some handle on the scope of the losses. And we're in the throes of getting that first data set in by May, and that would be losses for 2020. So these 30 companies are developing that data. They'll report it into OCS office, and then we'll work with it and we'll get some insight on what areas we want to focus on in terms of sharing best practices. So the metric is in this paragraph here. It's really the number and volume of incidents of any unrecovered release of pellet, flake, powder, or granules that are within the physical custody of the company. It's really got a de minimis value of about half a liter or half a kilogram, about a pound. So anything above a pound, we want to gather data on that and report it into the OCS database. So as I said, we're doing that right now for 2020 performance. So it'll be interesting to see what the data looks like and what things we can learn from it. The next slide shows an OCS manual with guidance and suggestions. So we do have some information. We have a website. It's opcleansweep.org. So I would encourage you, anyone that's interested, to go to that website and browse around. But we have a program manual that provides introductions, how to work and set up your workplace, ideas for training programs. It's got some general ideas for prevention, containment, and cleanup practices, and some just generic checklists that companies can take and customize, for their handling procedures and situation. So that's all I have. You can reach out to me at that email if you have any questions. We'd be happy to talk with you. Amy Steele, by the way, is our lead contact on OCS with SABIC. So Amy could give you the SABIC perspective in more detail. But that's just the program in a nutshell. It's a voluntary program aimed at working towards an aspirational goal of zero loss to the environment. So, questions?
Oh, come on, someone's got a question about this program. We appreciate you being with us, David.
Oh, glad to do it. And with my role in the program is that they've hired, I'm really a technical consultant, okay, is the role I have. So I guess I should have mentioned that.
Well, thank you very much, David. We appreciate you being with us and for launching the conversation today.
Sure, glad to do it. And, it's a multifaceted problem. It really is. But it is a problem. And so all different industries and segments, it goes to recycling, it goes to, various ways to attack it. So certainly we're happy to try to do our part in terms of that, early upstream production of the original pellet or flake, and then the transporting of that and use by the converter. So
I do have one question. I won't let you leave without a question, and this one comes from one of the folks on the call. Do you have any, is there any data on accomplishments to date or sense of how this is beginning to mitigate the issue at all? Has it been an operation?
Well, I think what we've seen is companies adopt increased procedures and practices to prevent it. So there's been a lot of adoption of specific company practices, ranging from engineering solutions of loading to housekeeping procedures, frankly. So we've seen a lot of that. And one of the things that OCS does is we work to educate each other. So we've had several good practice, best practice workshops. We had a series of those in December. We had a series back in September. Then we had another series, a really focused series in December. So we're working to share and learn from each other, and we share that information a little more privately within the group via the website. Excuse me, but
I understand.
That's what we've seen so far. And these webinars, will draw generally well over 100 people.
Do you have a sense of, is this something that our employers can pick up enough context from through this program to change their status with our environmental partners?
It is in the early stages. We've had some conversations with other environmental stakeholders, be they agencies, be they NGOs, excuse me, other associations. So I would say we're in the early stages, and what the feedback that we've gotten has been pretty positive. So the answer is, as we build this out and as companies adopt it, I think, yes, we can certainly enhance some of that dialogue.
Well, it's certainly important for this industry of which we all are so invested here in the region. So we appreciate your time today, and
Yes.
We'll make sure that the website and this information is available to everyone on the call, and we'll have it on our website, of course, going forward. Now I'd like to shift. Well, thank you for being with us, David. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. Thank you very much. I am going to have to go. And good luck with the rest of your meeting.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
For many on this call, we know SABIC as GE and GE Plastics, and now we know it as SABIC, and that has been a significant transition in our region. And I, for one, have had the opportunity to tour the facility. It is vaster than one might guess. SABIC has been gracious enough to provide us with a bit of a video that tells the story of SABIC and particularly our site. So I'm going to run that video now, and then we'll have further discussion. So stay tuned. Here comes space before you.
This is 1,140 acres of industry leadership. This is 100 buildings of innovation. This is more than 25 nationalities at work. This is the SABIC Mount Vernon facility. The largest SABIC manufacturing facility in North America, the Mount Vernon facility helps make the products that change the world for the better. This facility began operations in 1960 with a single product and is today home to approximately 1,200 employees, making multiple products for 17 countries. The products we produce are important parts of the items people use every day around the world. One of our most commonly known products, Lexan resin, has helped contribute to product revolutions in countless industries. This tough, Versatile polycarbonate material is used in applications such as vehicle headlights and LED lighting components, eyewear, transparent visors for football, hockey, and astronaut helmets, stadium roofs, skylights, and ID cards. The Mount Vernon site is also the only facility in the Americas that produces polycarbonate copolymers. They are used to make computers and phone cases and bullet-resistant sheets. Mount Vernon is the only manufacturer in the Americas of polybutylene terephthalate and is global manufacturer for our Balox and Xenoy resins that are used in a wide range of applications in our everyday lives. It is the only site in the Americas that produces Ultim, Siltim, and Xtim high-performance resins. These specialty engineered high-heat thermoplastics can meet stringent physical performance, endure harsh environment, and address evolving regulatory requirements. They are used to make surgical equipment, aircraft interiors, agricultural equipment, and electrical and fiber optic connectors. SABIC has established a reputation for quality, offering quality products and services to our customers. We have adopted some of the highest international quality standards in manufacturing our products across all our sites. At SABIC's largest site-based R&D facility and an innovation hub, Mount Vernon is home to 180 research and development employees. Together, in collaboration with SABIC employees around the world, we work to respond to the rapidly changing industry needs and to provide more sustainable chemical and material solutions for our customers. While we are proud of our people, products, and operations, we are equally proud of our people who work together to maintain our culture of safety. At SABIC, we are one team, one family, and our first priority is the environment and the health and safety of our employees. The environment, health, safety, and security is at the heart of our operations and a fundamental force driving our actions and behaviors to achieve business goals. Our safety, security, health, and environmental management standards provide a world-class framework that enables us to meet ever-changing rules and regulations, which support the safety and well-being of our people and the environment. As part of that commitment, we recognize our dependence and responsibility to carefully manage natural resources, the building blocks of our products. For that reason, all water used at the site is treated using a biomass treatment system similar to those used in municipal utility systems. To help ensure an environmentally responsible future, the site uses a cogeneration plant that eliminates the use of coal while giving us a reliable 24/7 power source. The greenhouse gas intensity settings are equivalent to removing more than 100,000 passenger vehicles from the road annually. The American Chemistry Council recently recognized SABIC with a Sustainability Leadership Award for our leadership in developing products and technologies to advance sustainability. We are also a member of Operation Clean Sweet Blue, an initiative designed by the American Chemistry Council and the Plastic Industry Association to help protect the environment by working to achieve zero pellet, flake, and powder loss. And SABIC is a founding member of the Alliance to End Plastic Waste, working to make the dream of eliminating plastic pollution in our environment a reality. Our commitment to making a difference extends to building healthy, resilient communities. Each year, Mount Vernon site employees volunteer countless hours in the areas of science and technology education, health and wellness, and environmental protection. This includes lending our unique specialized skills, such as firefighting services, to the local community when needed. Our federally registered apprenticeship program builds competencies in our new employees. Our collaborations with universities and technical schools provide youth competitive career opportunities. To that end, we are helping the tri-state close the skills gap so that we all can grow and succeed together. This is forward thinking. This is making a difference. This is chemistry that matters. This is SABIC's Mount Vernon site.
Hi, this is Sheila Nab. So thank you all. I hope that gave you, I'm with SABIC and I have Twin Nguyen here next to me. And hope that gave you a little bit of information about SABIC and who we are from a global standpoint and from a local Mount Vernon standpoint. And I also see Amy Steele from SABIC's on. We had a little bit of technical difficulties getting on today, so sorry about that. I'm not sure if you guys have that presentation, Tara, if you have that yet that we were going to share.
We do not have your slides that I know of.
Okay, so am I able to be a presenter so that I can
Yes.
share those? Okay.
Nikki, can you handle the logistics there?
Yes.
Yeah, we don't usually use Zoom. That's not an approved tool for us. So this is,
We understand.
I tend them sometimes on my cell phone, but we typically don't use it. So just please bear with us here for a minute so I can figure out how to share my screen, which I think I figured that out.
Yeah, new technology has got us all caught up here. Here we go.
Okay, great. Well, okay, so I think we're all online and we wanted to talk about, you know, kind of the situation that we deal with from a plastics standpoint and the environment. You've already gone through some introductions before, so just to let you know who's on the SABIC side. Amy Steele, she's in charge of the regional EHSS team and their operations clean sweep lead. Like I said, I have Twin right next to me. She's located at the Mount Vernon site, and I'm in charge of regional communications for the manufacturing sites, and I'm also sitting at Mount Vernon site. And I believe that we have Tim and David online right now. We did talk to you a little bit about SABIC. You saw the video, and Twin's going to give a brief safety minute. We like to do that before we start any call, so this should be a brief message from Twin.
Good morning. Thank you for being patient with us as we get our technical difficulties iron out. Today we're going to talk about the EHS context, and I think it's appropriate to talk about the plastic pellets. Talk about focus on the safety hazard of the pellets. As you can see in these pictures here, we focus on the hazard of slip, trip, and falls, where operations clean sweep, we often focus on a broader environmental impacts of pellet spill, but there's also immediate hazard deal with slip, trip, and fall. So part of the reason we focus on it, because as easy as things are, you know, but it's often the hardest with culture change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you know, having the little pellets, which we put in here on this slide, it's not just about the being wet and tripping over cords and things like that. So whether it's manufacturers of plastic, whether it's people who deliver, you know, truck drivers or rail cars, when we deliver plastic pellets and different plastic materials, just got to be careful what's on the ground, because there is a lot of possibility that you could slip or trip on those types of things. Now, what's the dilemma? And again, I missed the first part of the call, so David may have talked a little bit about this, but so sorry if it's a repetition. So what the dilemma is, you guys may have been seeing in the news, especially around the Gulf Coast, the nurdle problem or plastic pellets in the water problem. It's over the news quite a bit. Companies are being fined for this. They're spilling, whether it's a plastics company making the plastic, or again, it could be a trucking company that is transporting the plastic material from a manufacturer to a customer. And there's been several settlements in the news and opportunities where companies have been fined for this sort of thing. The other thing that's the dilemma is that when companies, petrochemical companies, plastics type companies, or companies that support plastics production, when they are looking to move into another area for a new plant, what we're seeing lately is that there's a lot of community interest in those types of companies that are going there. And in some cases, they're saying, we don't want companies here. We don't want industrial companies here anymore because of what they're doing to the waterways in terms of accidentally spilling plastic pellets on our beaches or in the waterways. So this has become a bigger deal than just saying, hey, we want to, we want to be good stewards and do this for the environment. And we do, obviously, but I mean, it can really impact your business performance, your business opportunity for growth in different areas. So just, wanted you guys to understand a little bit about the dilemma that we're facing in particular. David, I think that you provide an overview of Operations Clean Sweep. Is that correct? Okay, not sure, but I'll just go over it again. I'm sure you guys have. So Operations Clean Sweep is a way that the American Chemistry Council and the American Chemistry Council's Plastics Division and the Plastics Association industry, they come together, and the ACCs come together in terms of what can we do to help resin production companies implement good housekeeping, because we know that's where it starts in the beginning. Is that so when you're producing the plastic, if you're using equipment, extruders or whatever it might be, when you're doing testing, what can you do to make sure that plastic or those flakes are not getting on the floor accidentally? Because what happens is, and then when you sweep them up, do you put them in the trash? Do they go in the drain by accident? And then they end up going into the river. So, the purpose here is to make sure that we can minimize any of the pellet or flake or powder loss so that it doesn't get into the environment. I'm going to have Amy Steele talk about the culture change and some of the elements of that when SABIC was looking at implementing Operations Clean Sweep.
Sure, Sheila. So Operation Clean Sweep is on a plan, do, check, act cycle. You do an audit of your plant, you identify the problem areas, you address them, and the way you address them may be engineering changes, you may change the design of your equipment, or they may be procedural changes. You make those changes, and then you start the cycle again, and you check and see how you're doing. This is also how we run EHSS, Environmental Health and Safety, at SABIC. So OCS fits into our entire program in a really nice way. And later on in the presentation, we'll talk about how the culture change that's needed to implement Operation Clean Sweep is what we've seen as the hardest part. But by using the plan, do, check, act cycle and constantly reinforcing the same ideas, re-examining the same processes, you gradually change that culture, and in a very positive way. Sheila, you're on mute if you're talking.
Great, sorry about that. Amy, do you want to talk a little bit specifically about the SABIC experience and starting with the plant in Canada? Sure.
This photo is from a rail car unloading operation at our plant in Canada. And when we did a pilot project for Operation Clean Sweep way back 11 years ago in 2010, they looked at their operations and they said, the connections aren't always really good here at the rail area. So we need to not only improve that equipment, but we need to pave the ground. And in this picture, it's a partway through after picture where the ground's already paved. But before, it had railroad ties, and it was really hard to clean up pellets in that area. The other thing they did to make it easier for people was they put the tools people needed for the cleanup out there. So they got brooms and brushes and dustpans so that it was easier for people to take the actions out there. They also put a roof over the area. So that lessened the opportunity for rainwater to wash the pellets out of the plant and out of that area zone. These are photos from a plant we have in Mexico, and they're of a pelletizer. So this is where long strands of plastic are cut into the pellets. And in the picture on the left, you can see some white pellets in the bucket and some discharge pipes. Well, those pipes, they realized weren't long enough. And so sometimes pellets would miss the buckets or they'd bounce out. So in the picture on the right, you can see the dotted line of where a bucket would sit under a longer pipe. And this was a really simple fix. Just make the pipe longer. It helps prevent pellet loss. Some of the feedback we had initially from the program was really positive. You know, people liked how simple it was and how it was very easy with this process to step back and re-examine what we do every day and take a critical look at it. But we also had some critical feedback, and when we initially rolled it out, it was a 6-month pilot program, and people said to really make a difference, we need more time, we need a bigger commitment. They also found it was hard to change the culture, and that was the toughest part about the program for them, because historically people had done their jobs. They were very focused on the process, and spilling a little bit of pellets on the floor or the ground in the plant wasn't critical at that point in time. So when we think about the change in culture from 11 years ago to today, there's a lot that's different. And this is even more so now with the pandemic, but at that point in time, there wasn't much of a focus on pellets in the environment. And now it is an emerging regulatory issue. We've seen some of our competitors be fined in Texas for losing pellets. Back in 2010, I was handling customer inquiries on environmental health and safety topics, and they were coming in a very manual way. Each customer would have its own list of questions. They'd come through email. Today, customers are expecting us to participate in third-party customer supplier rating programs that are web-based. They're very sophisticated. There's analysis of the results, comparison to other firms. And customers just are more aware and more focused on what we are doing with our EHSS programs. And back in 2010, we were still a year away from publishing our first sustainability report. It came out in 2011 for reporting year 2010. But today we've have experience of reporting for over 10 years. And if you were to sit down and read through all of our sustainability reports from the last 10 years, you'd see that they've evolved. And they continue to have more and more transparency in them. So when we stepped back and we looked at our OCS program, we realized to really get it going and to embed it into SABIC, we needed to link it to SABIC's values and run it on a value-based program. So SABIC's 4 core values are inspire, engage, deliver, and create. And what those values mean is that we operate in a team environment, that we share, and we work together to achieve results. The way we have Operation Clean Sweep organized at our plants is there's an Operation Clean Sweep leader from the environmental team. At Mount Vernon, it's twin. And they work directly with the unit operators in each part of the plant and draw from them their best ideas. At a regional level, I run a team that meets quarterly with Twin and her counterparts, and we get together to exchange ideas and best practices. And then I also work with my counterparts in Pacific, Europe, and the Middle East and share what we've developed with them, and they share with us. So as we've worked going forward on OCS, one of our first big wins was ensuring that all of our housekeeping checklists required pellet cleanups, and that they specifically said this. So we knew this was a big project to check every single checklist within the company. So we engaged our interns and our co-ops and had them help on this issue. They're very passionate about it. They see it quite a bit in social media. So they were eager to work on the program with us. We've also done media campaigns. The picture on the right is a poster from our plant in Brazil, so it's in Portuguese. And plants have developed different ways to champion OCS and get it out in front of the teams. This picture of Twin on the left is from an Earth Day event that was held in Mount Vernon, and they tied it into Operation Clean Sweep, which was a nice win for us. At our plant in New York State, we took this energy from our interns and we encouraged them to become leaders in preventing pellet loss. It brought a really nice fresh perspective to the program and a lot of energy. So they worked on updating the housekeeping audits. They also would inspect and help people identify areas that needed immediate cleanup. One thing they did that was really impressive was they went to work on every single shift at the plant, and the plant was operating 24 hours a day. And they met with employees in the pellet operations one-on-one to hear the employees' perspectives on why pellets were being lost and how we could prevent their loss, but also to communicate why it was important to both the interns and to SABIC that we prevent this pellet loss. In 2018, we had conversations with our third-party logistics providers through our supply chain department to let them know that using the OCS program would be a consideration in our contracting going forward. We were really happy to find, though, that a lot of our partners were already doing OCS programs and were really sophisticated. So it turned out to be a great sharing opportunity for us. Then in early 2019, we added Operation Clean Sweep as a rationale for our budgeting process. So when we're evaluating how to spend our money within a plant, what projects to fund, if a project includes OCS or has an OCS aspect to it, it'll get a little bit more points. We're more likely to spend money on that project than on one that doesn't. And in 2019, we also signed the OCS pledge, and then we re-signed a slightly higher pledge called OCS Blue through American Chemistry Council. So that really demonstrated to our communities and our employees our commitment to the environment, which is in line with SABIC's values and our EHSS policy. And the picture at the right is a snip of one of the OCS pledges. Signing the pledge is the first step in establishing an OCS program. So we might not have done it exactly in the right steps, but it's a very visible way to show employees. And these pledge signing ceremonies were done in conjunction with other events that were already ongoing at our plants, where we knew we'd have good attendance from the employees. So we made sure that we got it out there in front of them. We made it something very fun and exciting. So this year, despite the challenges of the pandemic and having fewer people in our plants than we normally do, we continued our Plan G Check Act cycle. The photo at the right is of an employee pulling out a screen from a floor drain. So much like you use a colander to screen your spaghetti when you're getting the water out, we put these screens down in the floor drain to catch the pellets so that they don't go down the drain. And then early in 2021, so just last month in February, we did our first reporting to ACC of our OCS Blue data for industry trending that they will be doing for the industry. And it was a lot of work, but I think it's going to be really good because what gets measured gets done, right? So we hadn't been collecting data on OCS, but when ACC said as an OCS Blue member to this higher standard, we need some data, we said, okay. And we started gathering that data last year in 2020. So the 2021 reporting is for calendar year 2020. And we expect that reporting to evolve as we go forward, but we feel like it will be very useful to have hard data to help us understand our performance. As we move ahead, we know that this challenge of the mind shift and the culture will continue, and that it needs continual reinforcement to get us there. So we continue to encourage and engage our employees, our partners, and our community. And we will be using OCS as part of our site continual performance improvement as we go forward.
All right, thank you, Amy. I mean, that is the basis of our journey, Operations Clean Sweep, on a very, very high level for SABIC. So as Amy said, it is a journey for us. So as you can tell, as you know, it's been more popular in the communities. Organizations are really starting to take plastic waste more seriously now. And, you know, we are looking at our suppliers, as Amy said. So anyone who works with SABIC, if you're a vendor that works on our equipment, if you're a vendor that transports our products, we are expecting you guys to help us out and see what we can do as a partnership, so that if you're working on our equipment and you think, wow, you know what, if we made this one adjustment or add this longer pipe or whatever it might be, it might help you guys further prevent spilling of pellets or flakes in your operations. So we really want to encourage all the people that we're working with to think about this in everything that you do, so that we can all help each other, and then we can all share best practices on how to minimize this pellet loss, so that we can help make the environment better for everyone. So thank you all for the information. Thank you, Amy and Twin, for the presentation. And I want to open it up for questions, if we have any questions right now. I have a question that was actually sent to me personally, and I think this might be for Operations Clean Sweep or one of the organizations in terms of what are some of the other best practices that the other companies are doing to prevent pellet loss in their operations. David, do you know? Do you have any comments?
So David had a hard stop at
Tim, okay.
9:20. He is doing an audit on the West Coast. As far as, we haven't gone through the first round of data collection for OCS Blue yet, which will be end of May this year. I think once we get that, we can start looking. Other best practices, I'd seen similar examples of what SABIC was showing about the collection process on the factory floor. I think that's one I've heard a lot about, and then railroad trestles as well as a hot spot for potentially some spillage. And so there's been a lot of innovation around that. As far as excellent examples or best practices, I think we'll gather more as the program matures, especially as we move past the first year of reporting through OCS Blue.
Great, thank you. Another question that came in to me personally is, can you explain the difference between the Blue program and the, I guess, the normal, what we call the basic program of Operations Clean Sweep?
Amy might be able to do it better than I can. David would be able to do it best, but I know for me, the biggest difference is OCS Blue is we're collecting actual company data. As an OCS member, you're showing your support of, trying to limit plastic waste and, pellet release into the environment. At least under the OCS Blue program, we're actually sort of seeing how you're following up on that goal. I can reach out to David and Stu Harris, who runs the program at ACC, to get more information and follow up.
Sure, I agree with you. The biggest difference is the data collection. There is a little bit more focus on education for employees. And by education, they don't necessarily mean a training class or a set of PowerPoint slides. You can be very creative in how you educate the employees. It could be a stand-up meeting, it could be a newsletter, but they want more reinforcement for that culture change.
Okay, thank you. Tara, do you have any questions?
I've been watching the chat, and I think we've handled the questions very well. I will say that as we think about ways to look forward, our region is looking at a climate action plan and those sorts of things, and this information and this work is central to us being the region that people choose to work and live in. So we are very appreciative of your leadership and your willingness to share not just the program, but your journey with the program with the folks on the line. So it's the kind of best practice we want to continue to support and encourage. And so I want to thank all the SABIC folks and all the participants for taking time to learn more and to look at ways that we can align our work and keep Southwest Indiana the place that we all want to do business and keep investing. So absolutely, I will thank you. And if there's any final comments from you, Sheila, I'll welcome them. Otherwise,
I want to say thank you. Thank you to the Chamber and the Economic Development Coalition. Thank you all for your support and for hosting this for us.
Sure. Then I'll wish everyone on the call a good day and tell you that we'll continue to bring you this kind of content and programming in the future. Have a good week.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.